Hi everyone and welcome to the podcast. We're going to be working on homework 1-1, first of the year, and that's algebra review. And so you should find this to be familiar, but just to knock off some of that rust that I'm sure accumulated over the summer, let's solve for some of these variables here. Now on your homework, if these variables aren't circled, go ahead and circle them, but we should have done that in class. So these are the ones we're going to be solving for. So my goal here is to do this in 10 minutes or less. We'll see how well I do, all right? So let's go ahead and get started. Number one, we're solving for a. A is on the denominator right here. So first thing we need to do is move it to the numerator by multiplying it up. So it's going to be ax over y equals b. But now we want just a by itself, so let's get x and y away from a. We're going to divide by x. I'm going to multiply by y. So it means that a is going to be equal to by over x. And here's our final answer. Solving for a. Now, your final answer in any homework problem, I'd like you to box like this, or somehow draw a box around. So I'm going to do that here to demonstrate that. Okay, number two. K equals 1/2 mv squared. We're solving for v. And it's got that square next to it, but we also have that 1/2 and the m next to it as well. So let's get those variables, those coefficients away from the v first. So I'm going to multiply by 2, or you could say divide by 1/2, but either way we're getting the 1/2 away. So that's going to be 2k equals mv squared. Well, let's bring that up and let's bring the m down. We're dividing by the m. So 2k over m equals v squared. We basically just cross multiplied. We got rid of the 1/2 and the m, and now we've got it in terms of v squared, but we just want v, so let's just take the square root. So that means that v is going to be equal to the square root of 2k over m. All right, we took the square root of both sides to get rid of that square right there, which means we've got the square root over the 2k, over m. Box that. Good. 2 is done. Number 3, we're solving for delta t. Now, you'll find out later what delta is. It just means change of t, but really, just think of it as we're solving for t. So, we want to get t by itself next to that a right there, and it's multiplied by that a, and we have that vi next to it. So let's just subtract vi from both sides. So that gets away from the at. So vf minus vi equals at. Oh, I'm sorry. A times delta t. That delta t, that just goes with the t right there. And now we want to get the t by itself by getting rid of the a. So we're going to divide by that and bring it down to the bottom. So that means that delta t equals vf minus vi over a. Oops. Try that again. There we go. Final answer. Number 3. I'm sorry, that was 3. Number 4. Solving for d. Now, if you look closely here, the d is squared. Okay, but let's not worry about that yet because it's underneath all this other junk right here. Well, one thing we can do to get it all by itself is simply multiply it up, so that d squared comes up here, but then it will be next to the f. So what do we do to get the f away from the d when it comes up? Well, we divide that so it comes down. So really the d squared and the f are just trading places. So d squared equals g m1 m2 over f. Now it's simply a matter of taking the square root to get rid of that square right there. So d is going to be equal to the square root of g m1 times m2 over f. That's the square root of all that in there. Okay? Number 5, we're solving for vi. Solving for vi. Let's first get rid of this 2a delta x by subtracting it. So vi squared is going to be equal to vf squared minus 2a times delta x. Okay, I kind of flipped the order right there, but we're solving for vi. And now all we need to do is get rid of that square, so we'll just take the square root of both sides. So vi, just vi, is going to be equal to the square root of vf squared minus 2a delta x. Final answer, box it up. Number 6, you're going to see this a lot. This may look familiar, or it should look familiar to you. This is the Pythagorean Theorem. We're simply solving for c. Well, that's easy. It's in terms of c, or actually it's in terms of c squared, so all we need to do is just get rid of the squared. So c is going to be the square root of a squared plus b squared. That's solving for the hypotenuse of a triangle, and so you're going to be doing that a lot later on this year. Great, 6 out of 10 done. I think I'm right on track. Let's get rid of them. Bring up 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay, number 7, we're solving for r. So in order to do that, well, it's trapped in the denominator and it's trapped under the square root. So the first thing we need to do is get rid of that square root. Let's just square both sides. So that means that v squared equals gm over r. Okay, remember this square root is over that whole fraction right there. All right. Well, now it's easy. In fact, it's just like, I think, the one from 2 problems ago right here where the f and the d traded places. We can do the same thing here. So the r is going to come up, the v squared is going to come down, so that means that r is equal to gm over v squared. Simple. Number 8. Okay, we're solving for r. Now r is cubed right here, so we don't want r. I'm going to solve for r cubed. We just want to solve for r. So this quantity r is multiplied by this whole fraction right here, 4 pi squared over gm. We want to get this fraction away from the r, so we're going to bring this over. How do we get rid of that fraction? Well, we're going to multiply by the gm and bring it up. I'm going to divide by the 4 pi squared and bring it down. So we're basically going to bring this whole fraction over here, but just flip-flopped. So that means that t squared times gm over 4 pi squared, see how it's upside down? T squared times that equals now r cubed. Now, solving for r is simply a matter of getting rid of this cubed right here. And what do you do to get rid of a cubed? You take the cubed root. So that means that r, just r all by itself, is equal to the cubed root of all this stuff over here. So we're going to do a cube root symbol. And that's just like a square root symbol, but with a 3 out front. So the cube root of all this right here, of t squared times gm over 4 pi squared. And there we go. We solve for r. 2 more. I think we're on track to finish in 10 minutes. Now we're solving for this capital F right here. The problem is here that there's 2 of them, so we need to figure out how to combine them first. Let's look at the right-hand side here for a second. This F is trapped in this parentheses added to the end, multiplied by this funny-looking symbol called a mu. Let's distribute the mu so it breaks up that parentheses. So that means that xf equals, distributing the mu f plus mu n. Okay, now we can take this this f variable right here and we can subtract it. Let's subtract it and bring it over to the other side. So that means that xf minus mu f equals mu n. Okay, now we still want to get this f by itself here, this capital F. So what do? We can't really add these together because the x and the mu are incompatible, but we can factor out the f. So that means that the f goes out front and we have x minus mu. All that is going to be equal to mu n. Now it becomes easy. All we needed to do is divide by this right here and bring that down. So f all by itself is going to be equal to mu n over x minus mu. That's solving for f. And our last one. Let's solve for t1 right here. That's just a little designator, but it's really this t up at the top we want to solve for. It's different from this t2. All right, well, first of all, it's trapped in this parentheses here with the square, so let's undo that by taking the square root of both sides. So that means that t1 over t2 is equal to the square root of everything that was on the right-hand side. R1 over R2, the quantity cubed. All right, now it just became a lot simpler because all we need to do is solve for T1. So that means to get rid of the T2 in the denominator, we'll multiply it so it comes up to the numerator on the other side. So that means that T1 is equal to T2 in the numerator times this whole square root of R1 over R2, the quantity cubed. There we got it. That's our first homework algebra review, homework 1-1. If you have any questions, come see me in class. Thanks for watching. See you later.